It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Jason, Andy, and Christina are all here. I'm back home. We have lots to talk about, including maybe $25 that Apple owes you. We'll tell you why. We'll talk about the Supreme Court saying, no, Apple, you got to make some concessions to Epic. And Tim Cook goes back to China. That and a whole lot more coming up on MacBreak Weekly next.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 1024, recorded Tuesday, May 12th, 2026. Good talk. It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Yes, the show we cover all the latest Apple news. I'm back home, but Christina Warren has moved.
I have.
You're in the beautiful, somewhere beautiful. Look at the greenery and the angel in the window.
It's so green out. So I'm in Atlanta.
Nice.
I'm in my mom's office. I came to visit for Mother's Day. And it was funny, actually, because a Facebook memory came up of a photo I guess I posted where 5 years ago, I guess it was this week, my nephew made his podcasting debut because he was in my arms as I was on an episode of This Week in Tech. And I held him the whole episode. And he was at that point, I think he was maybe 8 days old.
You held a baby for 3 hours?
I did. And he was good. While his mother napped. That was my Mother's Day gift to her.
Oh, I dimly remember that. Which episode was that?
I don't remember now, but I have to find it. But it was something.
We'll pull it up.
It was super cute though because he even had his own Chiron, like it said, like like Christian Warren baby, like as his title.
How sweet is that? That's Andy Anatko, not holding a baby, probably holding a tome of some sort because he's at the library. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Christina. Was his first words as a consequence of that like a name of like a mattress or a food prep company?
No, but you know what he does?
Blue apron.
I spend too much of my time napping all day. I don't have time to cook a good, healthy meal.
Okay, here's the real thing, though. The kids, they watch so much YouTube and they're exposed to this stuff, even though my sister claims that she has like a, low screen home, but come on. That when he plays YouTube, like, which is what the kids do now, he's like and subscribe.
Oh. Does he have a little YouTube, like Fisher-Price YouTube set? They should do that. My first YouTube
They should do that.
set.
Yeah, he just kind of builds his own kind of thing. But no, somebody should like Fisher Price or somebody should create like a creator set of fake cameras and backdrops and stuff. That honestly, I'm saying this out loud. I'm like, this is actually a really good idea.
Also here, his ink-stained fingers now recovering from many, many colors. Jason Snell of sixcolors.com.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Good to be seen.
We did the same thing. You were in Hawaii preparing for Jeopardy, working. I was in Hawaii, did 4 shows in Hawaii. But I'm back now. All I brought back was a little tan in this shirt. So, and somewhere I have a lei. But,
Aloha.
Aloha. What a great trip it was. It was so much fun. And while I was gone, a few things happened. For instance, we knew this would affect you. I think, Jason, you said this would happen. The Supreme Court instantly turned down Apple's appeal in the Epic Games lawsuit. You said, I remember, and I was kind of surprised that you said it with such confidence. There's no way the court will uphold or will
I said
this.
that.
You said it. All right.
I was
Christina was the one. Well, let's give her credit where credit's due. Sorry.
No, only reason I say that is because I think Jason would have hedged more, which would be the smarter thing. And I was just like, no, they're not even going to hear this.
Yeah. No. I would have said something like, these days, who knows what the Supreme Court is going to do? But yeah, the Supreme Court just basically, Apple's like, please, sir, we must spare us from the law. And the Supreme Court was like,
spare us from the law.
Nope.
Yes. That's exactly what they were saying.
Yeah.
Elena Kagan, on behalf of the court in the shadow docket, declined to pause a ruling by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals that considered Apple in contempt. This is Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers in the Epic lawsuit. Contempt is literally the word, I think, on App Store fees. That's it. Boom. So it goes right back to Judge Gonzalez-Rogers. Now the fight is over what commission Apple can charge, not 27%, I'm thinking, because she felt that was a little bit of malicious compliance. Tim Sweeney, of course, taking the victory lap again.
Yep.
The Supreme Court has considered Apple's delaying motion and found it unworthy.
Yeah, I wonder if Google's settlement or planned revision of how they run the Play Store, which they did hand in hand with Sweeney, is going to affect how the judge rules on this. It's okay. Well, you know what? A company that has as big an app store as yours dealt with this company, and they decided that 10% was pretty much okay, scaling up to I think it was like 15 or 16%. Tell me why you should not have your fees reduced to the same thing. I don't know where the argument goes like legally, but the fact that can't be a good thing that there is this other app store out there that seems to have had a negotiated settlement, and they have accepted, and Google has accepted way under 27%.
It's ironic because Apple told the Supreme Court in its filing, regulators around the world are watching this case to determine what commission rate Apple may charge on covered purchases in huge markets outside the United States, to which the Elena Kagan said, yeah, that's right. That's why. Going back to the judge to figure it out.
That's why we're not going to screw this up.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. The contempt, by the way, the civil contempt ruling also holds. So that gives the judge additional ammunition to do something. I don't know, fine Apple or something. So we'll see what happens. It's going back to the judge in the original case, Judge Gonzalez Rogers.
They did get one victory in another case, another thing we were talking about a couple weeks ago with DOJ in the States doing their antitrust thing against Apple, where Apple tried to stall by all of a sudden deciding that, hey, Judge, we can't move forward because we have to petition the government of South Korea to let us have access to Samsung's stuff. And the judge basically slapped them saying, yeah, it's really suspicious that you had about a year and a half to think about this. And only like a week before we're supposed to move forward, you decide this. Apparently another court basically said, yeah, we'll let you do that. We'll let you go. We'll let you get your discovery documents from Samsung before we move forward. So I don't know how that. It must be nice there must be like this weird leaderboard somewhere in the legal wing of the spaceship campus about wins and losses of like, okay, our little horsey got 2 steps forward, only took 1 step back. This was a good week, everybody. This was a good week. We get to have calzones on Friday.
Not a good week for Apple. A $250 million settlement has been reached now over the Siri delays. And the reason I mention this is you might well, all of us might well be getting some money from Apple, up to $95 per device in this settlement.
Yeah, I think the minimum was 30 or 40, I think.
$25.
25. So,
$295, depending on how many users submit claims. So they divide the total $250 minus the lawyer's fees by the number of people who ask for the money back.
Once it's a multiple of burritos, it's worthwhile.
It's going to be the lower number, right? Probably.
But still, it's going to be worthwhile.
Yeah.
Has anyone set up like the website yet where you can,
I haven't seen it yet.
Do your claim?
So that's the next thing is the lawyers will have to set that up. Yeah.
I think you have to have about a 15 or a 16. It's basically the complaint was basically about people who might have seen the WWDC keynote about, hey, in just a number of months, we're going to be giving you all these wonderful AI features that we're demonstrating for you right now. And we promise that you're going to be getting them very, very shortly. So it's on the basis that anybody who might have bought a brand new iPhone, like around the time the keynote came out, all the way through the time where they just said that, yeah, about that, no. They might feel as though we bought this based on a promise of a feature that you actually did promise to deliver that you did not deliver.
The class action lawsuit said that Apple, quote, promoted AI capabilities that did not exist at the time, do not exist now, and will not exist for 2 or more years. It added that Apple saturated the internet, television, and other airwaves to cultivate a clear and reasonable consumer expectation these transformative features would be available upon the iPhone's release. Actually, that ad did not run for very long, but I guess...
It was emphatic, though.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was running during football playoffs and stuff, and it was stating it as if those features already existed. It actually sort of stated that like they were basically there or coming shortly, and they never shipped them. So, it's kind of nice to see that there's at least a little bit of recriminations for saying things that aren't true in commercial announcements.
It's kind of when I was a kid. I don't think kids say this anymore. We used to say, oh, it's on an ad. They can't lie on ads. I think we know better now, right? but you can't. There's a risk if you lie on an ad.
You can't lie on ads. You can market and emphasize and do all. There are all sorts of things you can do. Ads can be misleading, but you cannot actually lie about facts about the product that you're advertising.
Oh, okay.
It's not protected speech. This is one of those things that comes up sometimes, which is like, oh, what about the First Amendment? I can say whatever I want. Commercial speech is not really protected in the same way that a person's speech is, because the idea there is that the law is protecting the people being spoken to, and that just lying to them because it's your free speech right to do so is not actually okay. So that's why, you will see issues with the FTC striking things down, and then class action lawsuits and all sorts of stuff like that.
That's why we, as we say, every time we talk about the quarterlies, it's unusual because it's the only time during the year in which the senior executives have to answer questions, and if they say anything that is even marginally misleading, they wind up as actually happened with Tim said something about the China market, about is the iPhone market going to be facing headwinds or whatever for China, said something that turned out to be not only not true, but Apple should have known it was not true, and they got sued by shareholders to the tune of $500 million.
The SEC will literally look into it if you say something that, because you have a responsibility to be truthful to shareholders.
Yeah, they actually fined Elon Musk for lying on Twitter about the value of Twitter. They actually fined him like $1.75 million.
I know. He had to search his pocket for that. Pocket.
Let me see here. It's in my coin purse.
Yeah, in the coin pocket, he's got
a little moth flies out.
You know something? When our self-driving kills a pedestrian, we don't even pay half of that. Don't worry about it. We got that money.
So I guess my point being, I wouldn't count on the SEC or the FTC really enforcing these rules. But you know what? Class action works.
$250 million for Apple.
I
mean, how much time in revenue is $250 million from Apple?
Well, they spent more in lawyers' fees, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Although these lawyers are on retainer, so they're spending.
And once again, they settled. They did not let this go to trial.
This did not go to trial, which could have been a lot more expensive, right?
And nobody wants to
Discovery.
Discovery is dangerous.
As part of the settlement, they said no fault of ours. We admitted no wrongdoing, but we're nice guys, and we're just going to give them a little money just because
we feel bad.
We feel bad.
Our mistake.
No wrongdoing.
Elon
now this will all be made good in next month, right? WWDC, all of those features will suddenly appear.
I don't think so. I mean, this is our speculation, right? But it feels like there was a little bit of a pivot, because they were originally trying to ship all those features in the spring, and then they said, we're gonna not do that and ship it this summer. And I think everybody is starting to think that they've shifted gears from, can we make good on all our promises from 2024 to let's not think about what we promised in 2024 and think about what we can deliver in 2026.
Take $25 and forget what you saw here.
Yeah,
but this is seriously exciting though, because this is like both Google and Google I/O next week and Apple WWDC next month are going to have an amazing keynote. I'm looking forward to both of them the way that I have not for either of them in a couple of years now, because Apple, whereas they had a lot of promises a couple of years ago, and then last year they had to eat a lot of crow with their hat in their hand. I'll add a third metaphor, which I'm not going to come up with. But now they're like,
the crow in the hat?
And the crow is in the hat, and they have to eat.
It's a turducken.
Is the bird in the hand if it's in a hat in the hand?
But now it's like, okay, well, again, we decided to have like one of the premier foundation model makers make us our foundation model, so we're on top of that. Number two, we're also deciding that we're going to make our platform ecumenical to any AI that wants to run on it, because we figure we win so long as you buy our iPhone. We don't have to do that. It seems as though they're positioned and also they have learned their lesson very, very well. I feel this is not going to be a Steve Jobs, you're holding it wrong sort of thing. This is okay. This is a Tim Cook. What can we learn from this, and how can we come out from this even stronger?
Just out of curiosity, because it was a while ago, what did they promise?
So the idea was that they were going to do an on-device semantic index of your personal information, that then an on-device model was going to be able to look through and make some intuitions about stuff that you could do. So it was things like answering questions about who did I email with last month that did this thing. Or the classic one is my mom is coming in. When do I need to get her at the airport? And it knows to get your mom's text message about her flight and look at a flight info thing and find out when her arrival is expected, and then look in maps and see what the time is for the airport, and build up there's this idea of mining your personal information and also doing multi-step automation so that you can, which is great. It's kind of agentic, we would say now. The problem was that the app intents frameworks that are probably responsible weren't there. Yeah. And the model was not strong enough, and we haven't heard a lot of detail. I love the idea of building a personal index on device that is not getting uploaded somewhere and then being able to do some intelligent kind of parsing of that information. But will they be able to pull that off? It's unclear. I mean, some of that stuff is absolutely still happening, but whether they're going to bite off that whole thing or whether they're going to be a little more restrained about app intents, because app intents, the whole idea there is apps making features that they can do available to the system so that the system, driven by an LLM, basically by an agent, can say, I'm going to use this lookup from Maps, and I'm going to use this thing from Mail, and I'm going to take this thing from a third-party app and get an answer and then give you the answer. And that's the dream, right? And we see, it's funny, today it seems more understandable than in 2024, I would argue. Today we've seen more agentic stuff that is
1996.
It's
as Club Twit member Nightscape points out, this is the Newton agent wish list.
It's a knowledge navigator kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. But it is with things like OpenClaw, and
I'm doing this right now with my own agent, and I can do it with
Yeah.
Telegram on my iPhone and on my Apple Watch. Asking my agent for any of that stuff, and my agent can go through my email. And
I think it is doable on a certain level, but whether they'll try to replicate every feature that they promised in 24, or whether they'll be I think they need to recalibrate and say, let's start with what we can do.
But this would be crucial, because I can do this because I know what I'm doing, and I've spent hours, days, coding all this with my with Claude at first, and now Hermes with ChatGPT, and this would make all of those capabilities available to normal people who aren't willing to or able to do that. That would be pretty cool. I think people would appreciate that. Yeah. Especially, remember, Google also promised something similar ages ago with its cards on Android. But of course, that means Google knows everything about you, and you have to use Gmail and all this. For Apple to be able to do it privately, I think would be very desirable. I think people would look what they're doing with minis. They're buying Mac Minis to run OpenClaw. If you could do all that in your iPhone, that'd be a hell of a product. Yeah, I think it's doable. I know you don't think they'll do all of that, but I think with Gemini, local models, they could do a lot. They could do a lot of that.
I do think that this is the past is the past. They can't go backwards in time and undo what they did a couple years ago. But and if you look at it this way, it can be a benefit that the world is different in 2026 than it was in the 2024 set of plans that they made. Now they can basically react, instead of saying we have to build our own AI and we have to be our own island. They basically say, so long as we are an open port for whatever the people who are Google spending $190 billion this year on infrastructure. We don't have to spend that because we can have all the features that Google was making for their own agent work on our stuff. We can spend a pennies on the dollar to get that same kind of functionality on our thing. They get to take all the hits. They get to do all the support. They get to build the infrastructure. All we got to do is build a $1,000 phone that people are going to want to run this stuff on.
Well, I think people will want it, and you're right. It's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks.
I can't wait to see the new version.
Do you think Google will offer something like that?
Oh, next week is going to be. If you just look at what they were talking about for cloud customers, and then you extrapolate that to now let's see what they can do for Android. They're having their Android video event today, so we'll find out whatever they want to show off for Android today. Next week is when they show off whatever the new user-facing version of Gemini is going to be, as opposed to corporate-facing one. And a lot of the stuff that's been leaking. And remember, Google is not really good at keeping secrets. People just talk and talk and talk. So there's already a whole bunch of stuff about that's leaked about the new Gemini that is agentic in the sense, and not in the sense of a developer who's building a workflow by clicking things together in some sort of scripting language, but simply creating a prompt that says start by doing this, then do this, then do this, and seeing how well that works. And again, I'm not predicting it's going to be fantastic, wonderful, groundbreaking stuff. No more than we're predicting that Apple's going to be doing groundbreaking stuff in June, but it's going to be very, very interesting. We're at the point in which I guess remember when they used to have demos of like walking robots in which it's tethered to like a machine like at the top for all the power and for all the compute, and it's sort of like can do sort of human speech, and then now it's at the point where like it's actually doing like dance numbers and actually like folding laundry and sorting parts. I feel as though both Apple and Google have, again, in terms of making a consumer mobile operating system and desktop operating systems, we've gone past the point in which this is interesting research through the point where we've built these tools and these features. We're hoping to convince you that you want to change how you live and work so that they will be relevant to you. And now they're in at least the potential, both Apple and Google, where they don't have to make that sales pitch. They can just simply say, name one thing that you have to do every day or every week that is annoying because it's boring and repetitive. If you can describe it to a human assistant, we can basically have our assistant do it for you, and you'll have to talk to it a couple of times to iron out some of the creases. But basically, you will no longer have to be coordinating 3 different calendars and 3 different sets of cars to get all of your kids to the right wrestling practice and soccer practice.
We'll be covering that, of course, keynote on Club Twit.
Yeah.
In fact, both keynotes, the WWDC keynote and the Google I/O keynote, will be only for Twit members because, alas, we don't want to get strikes against us on our YouTube channel. So if you're not a member of Club Twit and you want to watch our coverage, this is going to be very exciting. Christina has pointed out that Google has already announced stuff, which kind of is interesting. They announced a Chromebook successor.
Yep.
Yeah, they announced a Chromebook successor, and they announced, I guess, the next version of Android, which makes sense because I know last year at I/O, the emphasis was definitely more on a lot of the AI stuff. And
so they're
less
clearing
on, like,
the deck so they don't have to waste time on product.
They did the same thing last year with all the Android stuff was a week before, and then
it was exactly the same. Right.
Well, in fact, they're bringing back that Android show that they do before.
Yeah, exactly. Second year.
Christina, you have to cover this because working at GitHub, you have to be ecumenical.
Yeah, of course. Yes. Well, no, and I'm just interested in all this stuff anyway.
I am too.
So it's cool. Yeah, no, but they announced their Chromebook successor, the Google Book that's running a new OS, Aluminum, which is, I guess,
not aluminium.
Actually, it is aluminium.
Oh,
okay.
Well, we have to say aluminium now.
Yeah.
Even in the U.S.,
in the sense that it's a successor to Chrome. That's why they call it aluminium.
Aluminium.
Okay. That's actually cute. I'm assuming that this was the Project Fuchsia stuff that was then involved with that. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Is it more Android?
They say it's the code name. It's not going to be the final branding. That's just the code name.
Is it more Android, do you think, than Chrome OS?
Well, they're claiming that it's a combo. It's a fusion of the two. So
yeah. The idea is to bring something to Android similar to what we have in iOS, where you have a developer can write a phone app that will then basically, with either minor changes or maybe no changes, be an iPad app. And then if you were to run this for Apple sense, on an iPad that has a trackpad and a keyboard, it will also run trackpad and keyboard. The idea is to have that kind of like multitasking, multi-windowing, multi-app thing going for Android. Let's see if that actually works, because they still don't have the apps like they have for iOS and iPadOS, but it's a good move.
I think it's going to be very interesting, because especially for competition for the Neo. Yeah. Because right now, if you get one of the Lenovo Chromebooks with the MediaTek Companio chip, which is a terrible name for actually a surprisingly good chip, you're getting basically M2 performance on a $650 box.
Yeah,
I think there's some competition here for Apple. I've seen a number of people say my favorite laptop is my MediaTek-based Chromebook.
I'm sure Google is well aware of what the advantages are of Chromebooks and Chrome OS, but any time they tinker with it like this, I have that moment of like, I sure hope they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Not because of their track record as much as that history is full of examples where a company has big ambitions and they don't understand the thing that makes their product successful, and they mess it up. And I wasn't going to mention like George Lucas, but like I just did. But this idea that sometimes the people who are in charge...
Are you saying this will be the Jar Jar Binks of Chromebooks?
Well, sometimes I would argue, sometimes the people who made the thing are not necessarily the people who understand it the best.
That's
and
right.
the danger, and I'm not saying this is the case. I've only read a couple of stories about the new Google book kind of thing, which the name alone makes me worry that it's a little bit of an ego trip. But like, what is great about Chromebooks in some ways is their simplicity, the fact that they fit into a school so easily, and like, they got to be really careful here because they could make what is a better computer, but if they risk the thing that makes people love Chromebooks, they could put that whole part of the market at risk. So I'm always a little worried when somebody comes in and says, "Oh, we're doing a whole new thing now." It's like, did they? Are they taking
Jar Jar
care not to
book.
destroy the
that's
other
not,
thing?
Not a
Jar
bad
Jar
name,
book.
actually. The
Show title.
Yeah, the Jar Jar book.
Jar Jar book.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing,
Prequel
though.
book.
Sorry.
Go ahead,
Here's the thing,
Christina.
though. A lot of kids, like, who grew up on the first, like, on the second trilogy, they love Jar Jar. Like, that's their childhood.
okay.
Like, that's this weird thing, right? So, and I know this because I talked to
So it works
people
on two levels.
who talk about how, like, their favorite thing, was, like, their childhood, which to them, it's, the films, the trilogy that started in 1999, not 1977. So I agree with you, Jason. Like, I think they need to be careful. At the same time, from what I've read, and I haven't read a lot about this either, they have a lot of succession planning around this. They have a lot of support things in place. I don't doubt that they have, I know this personally, and I think everybody does. Google has more telemetry data and metrics than probably anybody on the planet about things. Now, that's not to say that you can design that way. It is just to say, though, that it's not as if they're going into this, I would hope, blind about how are people using this product. I think the real thing is what the challenge has been with Chromebooks, and this is part of the reason I think why the MacBook Neo is such a special device, is that a Chromebook is a great device for not just schools, but for businesses too. Like, you can actually do a lot with them, and you can get them to be much more powerful than you would think, and they can have like Windows apps, and it's not just the web browser experience. The problem is when you run into those applications that are not available as a web app or that have not been packaged in a certain way for Chrome OS, which is a not insignificant amount of applications, you're stuck. And so the Neo has this advantage in that you can run regular Mac apps, right? They might not run perfectly and they might not be suited for all tasks, but you can run them, especially, most apps out there are going to run really well. And you can also run iOS apps, which how they run on macOS, regardless of how powerful your laptop is, I think kind of depends on the application, but you can do that. And so I think a big part of this is basically saying you can have access to all of the Android ecosystem apps on this device alongside any of the web apps, and if people, create more customized things too. And that, I think, helps them close a gap that they've had for a really long time. Which was that, they had this Linux base, but nobody's building Linux applications, and Google certainly doesn't want to be in the business of trying to distribute Linux binaries. So this is, at the very least, I think this could be some good competition to help, hopefully keep Apple's eye on the ball and keeping the Neo and the future Neos moving in the direction that they've had it moving in, just since we've seen it in March.
We're going to take a little break. There's lots more news. In fact, a big announcement, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. You're watching MacBreak Weekly with Christina Warren of GitHub, where she's in developer relations, Andy Anako, and Jason Snell of sixcolors.com. Our show today brought to you by Zocdoc. Life can feel like a puzzle. You're constantly trying to fit all the pieces together. Your career, your passions, and of course, your healthcare. It can be a lot, but finding healthcare should not be, the last thing, the trickiest piece to fit into the puzzle of your life. In fact, it's pretty important. There's a reason. I was thinking about this the other day. There's a reason in almost every culture that the common toast is to your health. Health is key to everything else you want to do. finding healthcare is absolutely critical, and Zocdoc makes it easy to find and book an appointment, so you don't have any excuse for putting this off anymore. Zocdoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality, in-network doctors so you can find someone you love. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states. And it's not just MDs. It's whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, mental health care, or any one of the other services. 200-plus specialties offered on Zocdoc. I actually use Zocdoc to find a gerontologist for my senior parents and my in-laws, and it was great. You can easily search by specialty or symptom to build the care team that's right for you. And everybody's preferences get accommodated by Zocdoc. You want to see your doctor in person? Great. You prefer a video visit? Great. You can do that too. And here's the thing I love the best. You're going to view thousands of verified patient reviews to give you a real sense of who your doctor is. Because everybody wants kind of a different style. Maybe you don't want a small talk doctor, and you want somebody who's just going to get to the point. Or you want somebody who'll talk about your favorite sports team as well as talking about that strange mole on your neck. Whatever it is, you can feel confident that you can book with a doctor you know you'll love that fits your style, because those verified reviews will tell you. And when you're ready, you can see their real-time availability. You can click to book instantly, no phone tag, no waiting around. Appointments made through Zocdoc happen fast, typically within 24 to 72 hours of booking, which is important if something's going wrong. You want the help right away. You can even score same-day appointments. So stop putting off those doctor appointments. Go to Zocdoc.com/MacBreak to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/MacBreak. Zocdoc.com/MacBreak. We thank Zocdoc for sponsoring this message. Zocdoc.com/MacBreak. Thank you, Zocdoc. So the other very big announcement this week, Apple has made a deal, weirdly, with Intel to make chips. We knew this was a rumor, but it's official now. Wall Street Journal said on Friday that a preliminary agreement has been made. So you say that's not official, it's just reporting.
Preliminary. Yeah, so Mark Gurman at Bloomberg last week said they were talking. Right. Intel and Samsung were talking with Apple. And then the Journal advanced the story this week and said there is a preliminary agreement, which whatever that means. Does that mean they signed something, or does that mean they've agreed that this is the framework, but they haven't put it into, like, there's a lot of semantics there. And Mark Gurman had a very passive aggressive response on Twitter where he basically was you read my story. He didn't even mention the Journal. He's like, read my story from last week. But I think it's another one of these cases where Mark Gurman's a little offended that some other news organization advanced the story that he was working on before he could. But so he's like, oh, it's still in process. But like, I tend to think the Wall Street Journal probably has a good source here, that there is there is momentum, and that they've basically agreed that this is going to happen. And the idea here is, and I don't want to overspin this, because I've seen some reports that are like, oh, Apple and Intel, what's happening here? This is actually like phase 2 of Apple's find places to make chips that aren't in Taiwan. Phase 1 was with TSMC, their chip partner, and they are working on a chip fab in Phoenix, Arizona with TSMC.
But those aren't the high-end chips, right?
These Intel chips are not going to be at the cutting edge.
You don't think they'll be the
Intel's cutting edge is not TSMC's cutting edge. Intel is behind TSMC. So these are not going to be on the cutting edge, but they will be, first off, geographically, a different location than Taiwan. Second off, politically, and just keeping your bets spread around, an American company and a different company, Intel. It also means that Apple is giving some money in exchange for products to Intel, which builds Intel up a little bit as an alternative to TSMC, so that Apple isn't completely beholden to TSMC and only TSMC, which they are right now. And so, I mean, the question is, what are these chips? And I think it does make you wonder. Up till now, Apple's strategy about differentiating Apple Silicon has been they build a few chips with TSMC, and then they bin some of them in order to, some of them that don't qualify for the high end, they use those as bin chips in a lower end, and they make it work. But once you're making chips at someone else's foundry, what are those chips, right? Like you have to, my understanding is, you can't just like save as to a different foundry. So like I start to wonder if Apple's strategy in America making chips is going to be like, do they come up with like essentially a second tier set of processor designs that are not for your iPhone Pro, but maybe for your iPhone, not for your iPad Pro, or maybe even your iPad Air, but maybe your base iPad. Like maybe for your MacBook Neo. Maybe these are the chips that don't have to be on the latest 3 nanometer, then 2 nanometer, then whatever comes under 2 nanometer process from TSMC. So it'll be interesting to see how they do this, because it's a different strategy to have these other foundries if they're making systems on chips, which it sounds like is kind of the plan. But like it's to be clear for people who hear Intel and have a flashback, like this is the foundry part of Intel. This is Intel doing the foundry business that they lost, or they refused to do for a while, where they're going to take Apple's designs and make Apple's chips.
This
on their
doesn't
foundry.
solve really though the problem of Taiwan, does it? If they can't,
Well, it does in the sense that first off, Intel, you're investing in Intel, which means that Intel is going to make every. They're going to try to catch up to TSMC eventually, but it also means that if you're making SoCs, systems on chips, at Intel in the United States, and something catastrophic happens to TSMC in Taiwan, you can still get SoCs for your products. They might not be as good as the ones from Taiwan, but right now, all of them are from Taiwan. So
Right.
having some of them be made in America has a few advantages.
Yeah, but there's no advantage if you have a laptop that's got everything but the CPU. You're kind of still not shipping that
BYOC.
laptop.
Yeah,
Although,
but
you know what, there
if
are
you've got a
PC
second-tier
manufacturers.
laptop, you can get away with it.
There are PC manufacturers who are shipping computers without RAM, saying, get the RAM wherever you can. We can't. So at least you can buy something.
Good news. We've made this laptop 8 ounces lighter.
Yeah, I don't think Apple's going to do that. So you think the Neo, that they could make something like an A18
Well,
chip?
I think the question is, my understanding, and I'm not a chip person, but my understanding is that you can't save as, right? Like if you're going to design for Intel's fab, you can make a variant of a chip you've already designed, maybe, but like it's not
They
the
don't
same
have
chip.
that 3 nanometer node.
It's not as easy as all of that. So that's a complicating factor here. But yeah, I do think if they're going to be making SoCs in the United States, and maybe, they've got the packaging technology there. So who knows? Maybe they're making some parts and then they're going to package them together with other parts. I don't know what they're going to do here. But one option might be to use these to make chips that don't need to rely on being the latest and greatest process, and that they're a little bit behind, but they, because Apple does sell lower end products that back in the day would have been, cheaper Intel parts. And now what they are is binned TSMC parts, or they're from the next step down. They're not an M chip, they're an A chip or whatever. But like they may tweak their chip strategy in order to take advantage of whatever they're building here. Unless the work can be put in to say, like, we're going to make 2 different kinds of A20, one of them at TSMC and one of them at Intel. But I've heard some people say that that's not as likely as them doing a different design on Intel.
They opened this morning. Intel opened this morning at $132.
Yeah, jeez.
Big leap forward, probably because of this, but they've gone back down to 117. So it's been very volatile. It sounds like the market is not convinced that this is going to be anything. Remember, this could merely be another sop to the Trump administration, because they have 10% of Intel. We're going to build in America. And that's all apparently the Trump administration cares about, is that statement rather than
That's
the
all they
actual
want is the
fact
statement.
of it. Yeah.
Well, but to Jason's point too, I think that maybe this is why the market is volatile, is that we don't know what types of chips these are going to be, right? Like if it's taking existing designs and modifying them onto Intel's node process, which again, I don't know, but that does seem unlikely. Or if it's saying, okay, we will use this for specific types of chips that we can then put in the many types of components we sell that aren't just the most high-end phones and laptops. And that, I think, I don't know if that material matters to Intel's success or not. I think at this point, just the fact that anybody is using Intel, at all is a good thing for Intel.
And Apple really is struggling keeping their Macs on the market. Now, according to Mac Rumors, the 32 gigabyte and 64 gigabyte variants of the Studio are no longer available for purchase. The M3 Ultra with 256 gigs of RAM is off the shelf. So the 512 is long gone. So now, you're going to have to settle for 64 gigs if you can get it. The M3 Ultra, 96 is the only variation available in Mac Studio. Yeah. M3 Mac Studio and M4 Mac Studios are now out 9 to 10 weeks. And I know Apple would love to make these, but boy, it sounds like they're running out of chips.
It's terrible. The thing that kind of breaks my heart is that they've dropped like the entry level M4 Mac Mini off the price list completely.
Yep.
And so which means that like it was so lovely to have a $599 absolutely perfectly useful performant broad use sort of machine on the list, and it breaks my heart a little bit that now the cheapest one is now $200 more. Yeah. I hope we don't see the same thing.
And you can blame the AI bros for this, right?
Absolutely.
No, I think we can blame a lot of people for this. Obviously, the data centers are part of it, but I don't think it's just the AI bros.
You bet.
my reflex action is AI bros. Oh yeah, let's blame them. I don't know.
Blame them for everything. Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a shortage all around data centers as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But people are buying these Mac Minis, and they it is a shame because there are people who want to buy a Mac Mini because they want a Mac Mini, not because they want to do local AI.
Yeah, and it's a great price, and that's why I hope that for the MacBook Neo, it wouldn't be as bad a hit if they were to drop the 256 gig one and just simply start. But because but instead of being a $599 laptop, the cheapest one would be now $699, and that cuts so much slack to all the Windows laptop makers and Google, who's now going to be trying to sell these Google books at the end of the year, because $599 for a device of that quality was absolutely untouchable. Whereas $699, you have enough wiggle room where you can say, okay, that's not a dirt cheap machine. That's where we actually are going to give you an aluminum body. That's actually where we can say that, hey, look, we've actually give you like a useful number of ports that will make this a lot more pleasant to use on a day-to-day basis. That $100, but remember that for all the people who are saying, oh my God, it's great that this thing is so cheap, there are so many people for whom, God, I really only have $500 to spend. That's as high as my budget will go. But you know what? I can stretch it for a little bit to get a MacBook. But that extra $100 says, no, there's absolutely no, I cannot afford $699. I could barely afford $5, and I'm grateful for it, but I cannot afford $699. So that would break my heart if they had to do that.
Well, I was just going to say, to add insult to injury, and I don't think they're going to change the price on that. I don't think they can. I think that it hurts them. But they changed the way that the U.S. Education Store verification happens now.
Yes.
And so you have to verify through Unidays. Now, look, that's fine that regular people
a nice loophole.
Can't. It was a nice loophole, and I primarily was buying it for other people, but like I'm not going to lie here on this podcast and pretend that I didn't use that for other things before too. I'm a student of life after all. Here's where this concerns me. Because I don't care. I can afford to pay the regular price. When they made this change, which I don't like because you have to give your information over to a third-party data broker, and I'm firmly of the opinion, I don't care how many companies do this, that if you want to collect that data, that the company should do it themselves. But the real problem is that now what they've done is that you can only get the student discount if you are about to enter college, or if you are you can be a teacher of any type, including a homeschool teacher. So if you have a homeschool kid and have a letter of intent, you can get the student pricing. But if you have a kid in K to 12 and you're not a teacher, you can't get the education price anymore. Yeah. And that I think is actually really bad. And I'm really upset by that. I think there would have been a better way to do a verification scheme that would have been able to include K through 12. But to your point, Andy, I think that when you combine those two factors, right, where there are people who were looking at like, oh, well, I could get this for $500. Now that option is not there unless you're a college student who are not the people who should be getting a MacBook Neo anyway. I don't think a MacBook Neo is enough for college. I would be shocked if they did anything about the Neo pricing. I think they're just going to take the hit on it as long as they need to for this generation. But my real fear is that because of all the external market conditions, this gives Apple cover to raise the price on the subsequent releases of the Neo and the Mini. And that I think would be a real shame.
So apparently, according to ScooterX in our club, Apple has been using Unidays in other countries.
Yes.
And then YZF donor says Unidays didn't ask for any of my email except my school email address. Then it handed me off to my school's SSO and then returned me. So I guess the school does the verification.
I think it varies from depending on how you're doing it. Because in some cases, like if you're not on their system, then you have to give them some documentation. From what I understand, the process isn't that bad. But again, it does not work for people who are K to 12 unless your kid is homeschooled, and then the parent can apply as the homeschool thing. And that I think is a much bigger deal, right? College students, fine, you can do that, and it's not that big of a deal. But you're cutting off the people who really. I think the Neo especially, this was like a really great thing for families, frankly.
And they are going to accommodate homeschool students as well.
So well, no, but they're the only ones who are accommodated. That's my point, Leo. If you are K through 12, you do not get this discount.
What?
You do not get it unless you are a teacher, period. End of story.
Students
you do
and
not get it.
educators in the U.S., Canada, and Chile can use the app or website to verify their academic standards. I'm reading this from Mac Rumors.
Yes, and if you go to the actual
an
Apple
email
website,
address from an educational institution, a student or staff photo ID, or another valid educational document, but not K through 12?
Not K through 12. When you go through Apple's actual process, it says that it is qualified students who have been accepted to college, are K through 12 teachers, or are homeschool teachers. So if you attend college or have been accepted to college, so if you are graduating next year and you've already been accepted, or I guess if you're one of the kids who's in like an early college program, then you qualify. Now Apple could make changes to this, but Unidays does not verify because they can't people under 16. So this is cut out anybody who's just wanting to be able to get a MacBook Neo or an iPad or anything else for their kids.
A completely appropriate person for this, I would say. Apparently, Mac Rumors said Apple used Unidays back in 2022 briefly, but
for like 2 days.
Complaints about it caused them to drop it. So maybe this is just this will be another abortive attempt. That would be. So it is Apple Watch is now also included, which is nice, I guess. So this is really just kind of a spiff for college kids is really what it is. And teachers, which is good.
Yeah. But I do think to talk about the Neo pricing just quickly, I know there's a lot of talk about, well, is Apple going to really eat margins? Apple loves margins. And a realization I had is on a $599 product, if you lose some margin, like in the grand scheme of things, this is not driving enormous amounts of Mac revenue anyway. And you've got a product that's a hit. So I have a hard time imagining that they will do anything to slow the momentum of a brand new hit product that is putting the hurt on their competitors, even if they lose some margin short term, because is the MacBook Neo really a margin play anyway? It's like a market share play. And I know that's different for them, but like a $599 computer is not going to throw off huge profits anyway, regardless, right? So they'll give back a little bit more, but as long as they're making money on the Neo and they're hurting their competitors with every Neo they sell, I think that they should be happy to just keep it at the existing prices, with the only caveat there being, I'm sure they're looking at the next generation of the Neo and saying, how do we get our margins back up?
also, it's a very the finances on the Neo can be subtle. When Apple sells someone a $599 a new user an Apple MacBook Neo, that basically brings somebody into the tent where they're going to stay for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and then maybe their next phone is going to be an iPhone, and then they'll pick up an Apple Watch, and then the next time when they need to replace the Neo or hand it down to one of their kids, now they're buying a MacBook Pro. The same thing doesn't happen when someone buys a $699 Acer laptop for the first time. It's just a laptop. They could go anywhere else. But once it's been proven by so many analysts that once you get someone inside that tent for the first time, Apple makes them very, very happy. They love the way that things work together. There's a certain prestige to the logo as well as a fit and function that they don't see on the other machines at Best Buy or Costco. And yeah, I agree with you, Jason. Like I don't think they want to lose any money on any one of these. But if they somewhere there is a line on a graph in Cupertino that says, so long as it doesn't go below this line, and we still got a lot of air over this line, it is worthwhile holding the line at $599.
And how much can they give away in margin, you might ask? Because what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to crank that A18 Pro production line back into operation and make more, and they're going to be more expensive because first off, they were using just the bin chips, which have a lower price, but these are going to include, if you do a new run, it's going to include fully functional chips that the GPUs work on, and then they're going to have to disable them in software and all that. So it's going to cost a lot. But just look at the education price. Apple is comfortable selling this thing for $100 less to a certain market. Yeah. And I assure you, they're still making a profit at $499. So they have room. They have room. They have to, they won't make as much profit per unit. But again, it's a cheap enough system that the number almost doesn't matter. It matters in aggregate. If they sell 10 million of these, they're still going to affect their profits. But the price is the point. This $599 is the point of the product, really. So you can't run away from it. And if you lose a little margin in the short term, they don't want to do it in the long term, but they can afford. If the education price is $100 less, there's a lot of room in there for them to eat some margin. And again, I'll also say they're selling those at the expense of competitors in the market, and that is a thing you want to keep doing.
And the big deal is. Yeah, and I'm sorry. I just wanted to quickly say that, and Apple doesn't. I think we might be saying contrary things, but complementary things, not contrary things. But Apple doesn't care if the school system buys 200 of these and they're running Google Classroom on it. They don't care if a company buys 100 of these and they're using Google Workspace or Microsoft 365 on it. So long as they sell the machine itself, people are going to want to use this lovely device as opposed to this thing where they're aware of when I have a friend who uses these things and they love their Windows laptops, but there is a stacking order in their backpack of, I cannot have this laptop, this Acer laptop at the last thing on my back because it's going to flex with all the other stuff I've got in this backpack. I need to put something else behind it just to make sure it doesn't flex so much that it doesn't destroy the screen. That's not something you have with any MacBook, even the cheapest one.
Let's take a break. When we come back, more MacBreak Weekly with Andy, Christina, and Jason. Our show today brought to you by Scribe. Teams don't usually hit scaling problems because of headcount or budget. It's because the way things actually get done isn't documented anywhere, and writing it all down manually just doesn't happen. So everyone ends up doing the same task slightly differently. Tools don't get fully adopted. And when someone leaves, that knowledge tends to leave with them too, which is exactly the problem today's sponsor, Scribe, was built to fix. Scribe is a workflow AI platform that captures any workflow in real time and turns it into documentation automatically. I mean, no manual writing, no manual screenshots, no starting from scratch every time someone new joins a team. Trusted by 80,000 plus enterprises, including nearly half of the Fortune 500, yet you just turn on the extension and do the process as you normally would. Scribe builds the guide as you go, capturing every click, step, and screenshot automatically. Scribe automatically redacts sensitive information, names, account numbers, emails, from every screenshot. And as an admin, you can enforce this across your entire team and feel confident nothing slips through the cracks. Anyone following this process can launch real-time, on-screen guidance that walks them exactly where to click step by step inside the actual tool. It's there the moment the Scribe is created and ensures everyone does those critical processes correctly. Scribe will suggest improvements to the underlying workflow too, not just document it. Once you can see how a process is actually being done, you can identify where steps are redundant, where people are getting stuck, and where things could be automated or simplified. It's not just capturing how work gets done, it's helping you do it better. To book a personalized enterprise demo, visit scribe.how/MacBreak. That's scribe.how/MacBreak. Scribe.how/MacBreak. We thank them so much for supporting MacBreak Weekly. Mr. Cook is probably right about now getting on an airplane. President Trump is flying to China, and he's bringing 16 CEOs with him. Would have been 17, but the CEO of Cisco said he had to wash his hair this week. Larry Fink of BlackRock is going. Blackstone, Boeing, Cargill, Citi, Coherent, GE Aerospace, Goldman Sachs, Illumina, MasterCard, Meta. Not Zuck. He also has to wash his hair. But Dina Powell-McCormick, who's their government liaison. Micron, Qualcomm. Interesting. Qualcomm's going. Tesla, Elon Musk will be going. And Visa, not going, not invited. Jensen Huang of NVIDIA. He's in the doghouse, I guess. But Tim and Elon, I wonder if they're on the same plane. No, each of them has their own corporate jet, right?
Yeah, probably.
I kind of, I really wish Tim writes his memoir, because I want to know what transition in life do you go through that says that, you know what, I'm willing to give up all of the super fun things about being Apple CEO, but I'll still be the person who has to spend 16 hours on a plane to go to China and then hang out with Elon Musk in a ballroom for a couple of days. That's not what you were hoping for at age 65.
Oh, no kidding. There's a very funny website which is predicting the apocalypse now based on private jets and how they're flying. So it's called the Apocalypse Early Warning System. I imagine it's going to be going off big time on today as all those 16 executives fly to China. Currently, our emergency level is only 1 out of 5. This is Kyle McDonald built this. He said, in the event of an imminent nuclear apocalypse, we suspect many people who have access to private jets will immediately take to the skies and escape city centers. This site tracks that in real time. I guess you're flying to Beijing. That doesn't really qualify as escaping a city center. Wow. So anyway, if you want to keep an eye on this is very useful. You can also track military jets if you want to include that and see all the activity that's going on. This is what AI has wrought, right? This kind of website. So Mr. Cook will be going. That's probably good for Apple, right? Apple.
I think it's maybe good for everybody because he's got so many great connections in China. Like that's the
guy they should bring.
He actually. I mean, there was that piece during the first Trump administration in the New York Times about how a lot of people felt like Tim Cook was basically an ambassador to China, not for the United States, but for Apple, but still that like it was a connection that he had made and that they have been working on for a very long time. So it's probably in the United States' best interest to have Tim Cook kicking around. And I wonder, I mean, I don't know if maybe we should do a vibe check here. I kind of feel like now that we know that Tim is going to be executive chairman and that this is the kind of stuff he's going to have to keep doing as his job. I wonder if I shrugged when I saw this because instead of it being like, oh, Tim, oh no, you got called to the White House again. Instead, my reaction is kind of like, well, this is your job now. I don't know.
I wonder if Tim will bring up the tariff situation with the president. The president's response to the Supreme Court overturning his initial tariffs and ordering refunds, incidentally, was to announce another 10% global tariff under a different emergency. And apparently those are also illegal, according to a judge. Yep. So maybe more refunds. I don't know.
But Tim has already played his hand there, right? Because he, on the earnings call, he said, "Oh, any money we get back, we'll invest in U.S. manufacturing." So
don't worry, Mr. President, we're behind you.
It's all we got a tube that just takes the money, it comes in and it goes right back out again to the U.S.
That is politics. He is good at this, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. For a guy that when you look at him, you'd say he just seems like a gray man doing in a gray suit, doing a gray job, but actually sometimes I think that's what you want. I think
we didn't talk about this a couple of weeks ago, but I just want to mention that it's amazing that he is such a public facing figure, not just as a CEO, not just as person of Apple, but basically someone whom there's an SNL cast member that has to be designated as, if we ever do a Tim Cook sketch, you're going to be playing Tim Cook, where people know what that name is, they know what he looks like. But he's still, after 14, 15 years, he's still very, very mellow. He didn't go Hollywood at all. He didn't become a star, like, which happens to so many like tech CEOs when they go from vice president who just does their job to, oh no, I'm the superstar. I'm I'm the face of the company. I represent all that's good and great about technology and the economy. He's still, hi, this is Tim. We've had the greatest quarter ever, and we think we're going to love the new iPhones.
He's very zen. I wonder what his
very mellow.
We don't know a whole lot about his, worldview and philosophy and so forth. But he seems like
nor are we entitled to. But
he's got that southern.
But he
thing
might
going
meditate
on.
every day or something. He must be doing something. Maybe he just smokes a lot of weed. I don't know.
Maybe before like they cleaned out like Steve's drawers in the office, they basically because sometimes things like get behind the drawer because the drawer's too full.
Sure, the seeds and stems they always fall in there. Yeah.
What are these postage stamps? Oh, I should lick them.
I was surprised in Hawaii to see that 26.5 came out. In fact, I'm going to have to go because I wasn't home, so I'm going to go all around the house and update my Apple TVs.
Update your things.
My Vision Pros, all 12 of them. I'm going to have to.
Classic.
All of that stuff is going to be updated. What did we get with 26.5? This is the last one.
Yeah,
right?
this is the sweeping the last sawdust into the bin kind of release. I think the biggest thing in 26.5 is support for encrypted RCS messages.
Yep.
So, which requires, there's a lot of asterisks there about what carriers and what phones are talking to what other phones. But it does mean that if you're having an RCS conversation, so iPhone to Android, if it's the right carrier and the right circumstance and all of that, it will be end-to-end encrypted, which is good.
Yeah. But they do have a support document that says basically for carrier, not just for RCS end-to-end encryption, but here are all the features that are going to be enabled on each of these carriers for the United States and Canada. And so long as you're not getting your phone service through a card you bought at a truck stop, I recognized like all of the different carriers that are at least offer RCS, but you're right. You don't know you're getting end-to-end encryption until you see like the icons like in the traffic. But it's still in beta technically. So whereas in previous releases, it was in beta for the purpose of carriers testing this and Apple testing this. Now it's in the hands of the users, and Apple is figuring that, okay, we're all beta testing and encryption on this. But I don't know what a fail looks like. You get a knock on your door because you said something you thought was private. I don't know.
Apple does have a page, thanks to Byte for Byte in our Discord, our club member, a wireless carrier support and features for iPhone in the United States and Canada. So you can actually go to this page, look at your carrier, and see whether RCS is supported, along with a bunch of other features.
Yeah.
This is actually very
you can
handy.
see like what type of, if they get like voice over LTE or visual voicemail or whatever the case may be. And in the United States anyway, and I know it's different like region to region, it looks like Andy said, even some of the gas station services have the end-to-end encrypted. It looks like Simple Mobile, who I don't know who they're a reseller for, is the only one that I see on this list. And Alaska GCI
and
Appalachian Wireless. So maybe some of the really
small, but AT&T,
really small ones. But your Boost Mobile, your Mint Wireless, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, Xfinity.
Bravado Wireless is not getting it. But C Spire is. Carolina West Wireless is not getting it. But Cellcom Wisconsin is. So it really is a by carrier thing. I suspect that the MVNOs mostly will get it, right? Because they're just reselling.
Well, no, that's what it's looking like, at least on this look. If you're it looks, because most of those regional things are probably MVNOs in some capacity too, but it looks like Mint Mobile, and it Metro by T-Mobile, Cricket, Total Wireless, all of these are included. Optimum, Pure Talk, Red Pocket.
I'm sorry if you subscribe to Panhandle Wireless, that is not RCS enabled there, but you do get Volti. So that's there's something. Pure Talk is getting it.
If there's
Pocket's getting it.
If there's a carrier that's just for like the Texas Panhandle, you probably already know the people. I mean, it's a compact.
You don't really need encryption so much.
What I thought was really funny. So both Apple and Google basically put press announcements on their own respective sites, on Apple's newsroom and on the official Apple Google blog, and they both use the exact same phrase. Google and Apple have led a cross-industry effort to bring end-to-end encryption to rich communication services. And the rest of the sentence is different from Google or Apple, but that was one of those sentences that was agreed upon word for word for word. And I remember over the past 5 or 6 years, the theme of Google I/O keynotes for Sundar Pichai have been browbeating Apple into supporting RCS, and whole campaigns with animated versions of the Pixel phone and an iPhone about how iPhone is not being open enough to talk privately with a cartoon Pixel phone. So I'm glad that they finally, when they found themselves in the same foxhole, they decided to become friends. But yeah, there was some animosity there for 4 or 5 years.
Sunday, Mark Gurman, Power On newsletter, while he wasn't, I don't want to call him babyish. Let's not. I will stop right there. While he wasn't talking about the Wall Street Journal, or not talking about the Wall Street Journal, talked about Mac OS 26 and the next version of Mac OS, which will have a slight change to liquid glass, he says. Yeah. I mean, again, Mark Gurman's got the best sources in the business, and he does some really good reporting. This article, okay, there's a lot in here. I mean, first off, it's very clear that one of Mark Gurman's best sources is designers at Apple. Right.
And that's been the case for a while. I think it's why he had a lot of really sympathetic stories about Alan Dye leaving. I think he hears a lot from designers. It's hard not to read that into this, where it's first off, he reports that it's not the designer's fault. Liquid glass isn't really the designer's fault. It's the software people. They didn't do it right. That's literally a thing that's in there, which is wild. And then the other thing he tries to sell us is the idea that the problem with liquid glass on the Mac is that it was really more designed for OLED displays, and there aren't any OLED displays on the Mac right now, and so it doesn't look as good, which is nonsense. And that's not a word I used when I read that story. I shouted a different word out loud that I will not repeat here, but it's nonsense. So there was a lot. Look, again, I like Mark Gurman as a reporter, but he's carrying a lot of water for Apple designers who want to run away from all the liquid glass backlash and say it's not their fault and that they were trying to have a higher vision for something that has not. They literally blame the hardware and the software for the failure of their design, and it's just complete nonsense.
He says, a quote, slight redesign for Mac OS 27. With the next update, Apple aims to address the shadows and transparency quirks. This is the quote. Last year's operating systems didn't necessarily suffer from design problems, I'm told, but rather a not completely baked implementation from Apple's software engineering team.
Yeah, it's not our fault.
Not our fault. So a little cleanup. I think everybody likes the idea of a little cleanup.
Well, I mean,
27.
It needs a lot of cleanup. I would argue.
Course corrections, like the mid-course corrections. We always, if this was going to be a journey of 235,000 miles, and that they're just going to keep doing little adjustments until they get it just right. I just don't think anybody expected the first version of it to be quite so horrifying.
He confirms rumors we've seen in other places of automatic grouping of tabs in iOS 27, iPadOS 27, and macOS 27's Safari. Automatic tab grouping, I presume with AI, right?
Yeah. Can I say as a sidebar? Safari needs a whole lot of love. I cannot believe it's looking more and more frumpy with each year as Chrome and Firefox and Arc and other browsers continue to bring new ideas that make this into a wonderful platform for running web apps and getting things done and basically exploring the web that you do the way that you do it in 2026, not the way we used to do it in 2015. Like the Safari is just not an app that I use at all because it works fine, but browsers have moved forward so far. I got the show doc in Google Docs right now, And I'm taking advantage of the fact that they've now got vertically stacked tabs and mini icons. So now the tabs are no longer taking up the whole top of my top of the window. I've got split views so that I can have like one document in one side of the window, not two separate windows, but basically a full screen app in which things are very, very well organized. This is not, there are so many complaints you should have about Chrome, about its assault on individual privacy. But man, is it a handy, it's a very, very good place to spend the afternoon when you're trying to get stuff done.
Did you let Chrome download that 4 gigabyte local AI model?
Now, you didn't let it do it. It was something that it's weird, but isn't that weird? Because so Google had to basically explain like what was going on, because there was like a security researcher said, "Oh, did you know that it's downloading secretly this 4 gigabyte AI model?" And Google had to say, "Well, yeah, because that's actually a privacy thing. We've been doing that like since 2024. But we have a local model so that we don't have to send your information up into the cloud. So it's faster, more responsive, and also more private. Also, it's a smart download so that if we ever sense that, this device is running low on storage, we delete that model. And then if there's another opportunity later on, we will re-download it." So yeah, maybe they should have said beforehand and not let it be a surprise. But this is I see that as more of a faux pas than a scandal, although people can disagree with me on that.
Yeah. You can't just delete the 4 gigabyte file. You actually have to look for setting in your system settings for on-device AI and toggle it off. If you don't have that toggle, and some people apparently don't, you can go to Chrome://flags and delete a very obscure command. There are articles about doing that.
Sidebar. This is exactly why you make sure you turn on, if you use your phone as a hotspot, you turn on that feature that says, "Please use this for low data." Because I'm very, very smart in not like streaming videos when I'm streaming from my phone, but I might not know that. Oh, I did not know that of my 40 gigabytes of unlimited of high speed data, I've just choked 10% of it on an AI package that I did not ask for and was not aware of.
Yeah.
Hopefully it respects that. I don't know if that it does.
Let's see. According to the Register, macOS 27 threatens to bury Time Capsule.
Yes.
Tell me about this. They want to remove the Apple filing protocol, AFP support.
AFP is going away in 27, and that means that we talked about this, the old time capsules and stuff won't be supported.
Oh, the old ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's no new time capsules. It's discontinued. So there are a lot of people out there who are going to look for new backup solutions now because they're using that for their time machine backup.
Sorry, I'm thinking time machine.
It's not time machine. No,
this is
time
the
capsule.
hardware.
It's the old
Wi-Fi router plus hard drive time.
Exactly.
Capsule.
Exactly.
And that
uses the old Apple filing protocol.
Okay.
So it's just not going to work anymore.
It was like
so you got to buy a new something.
Sorry, go ahead. Like 14 years ago, Apple basically replaced it with SMB,
right.
And they've kept it around for compatibility. But this is the year they say, okay, look, we're not continuing this anymore. After this
this is not time machine. That's continuing. This is
so if you do have a time capsule in your closet, that might be a good excuse to take it out and make sure that you've already, hopefully within the last 10 years, you already exfiltrated all the data out of it. But you never know. Maybe like you exfiltrated it at the time onto DVDs that you then lost or then have now rotted away. So it might be a good idea to take it out of the closet, fire it up, and just put it onto iCloud or put it onto something so that you know that the stuff from 14 years ago is still good.
Did we talk about Tim Culpin's piece that Apple is about to ramp up production of the A18 again for the Neo?
Tangentially, when we were talking about
the Intel stuff.
chips, but he is the former Bloomberg reporter who has his own newsletter now, and he wrote the speculative piece about what was Apple going to do, and then this time he said they are officially going back to TSMC to do a hot lot of A18 Pros, which is why when we were talking about Neo pricing, that's one of the reasons you got to wonder about the Neo pricing is that they're going to make 10 million Neos instead of whatever 5 to 7.
Yeah, he said they're doubling it, so I guess.
Yeah, so they were original run was 5. They're going to make 10 million now, and that means they have to go back to TSMC and order some more chips of the A18 Pro. And how will that affect the price? I think we all kind of made the case for having it not affect the price and Apple just eating some of the margin in the meantime. It will be a much more expensive part than the ones that they were taking out of the bin from last year's iPhones. But they've decided they're not going to slow the the momentum of that product. So that's what Tim Coppens reports.
And to say nothing of the fact they might have to pay TSMC extra to get to skip to the head of the line.
Yeah.
Because what Tim was saying that no, when there are machines that are out of stock and are out of stock for the next couple of months, we're not dry for DRAM. We don't have access to manufacturing lines for SoCs. That's where our choke point is. So that's going to be another expense.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Let's see what else. I guess since Mark now goes on to talk about changes to the Vision Pro, we might want to, after a little pause, begin our Vision Pro segment. You're watching MacBreak Weekly, the nation's premier Vision Pro podcast with Jason Snell of sixcolors.com, who actually owns a Vision Pro, and he's pretending he's wearing it right now.
I do. I had to buy one.
It's all right. You don't.
For my work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I had to buy one is the new excuse. Andy Anaka, who does not have a Vision Pro, and I can't remember. Christina, did you buy a Vision Pro? No.
No. I think that I was like made the very good choice for once in my life where I was like, this is going to sit on a shelf. Don't buy this. And that's what it would have done.
Yeah. Nor did I. Although we don't really know what the future holds for the Vision Pro, do we?
Well,
let's
It's a product in the lineup.
I'll tell you what.
Wait till we open the show.
Yeah.
Let's begin the Vision Pro segment.
What do you see? What do you know? It's time to talk the Vision Pro.
This might be a good time to buy a Vision Pro, buy a used Vision Pro.
Sure.
Right? Prices are plummeting.
Yeah. So this, I feel like, Leo, we were ahead of this last week on our Foremost Vision Pro podcast, because there was that story, that weird 9 to 5 Mac story that had a headline that said Vision Pro is dead. And then the story didn't really back it up and was reporting stuff that Mark Gurman had reported the previous year. So it was like, why is this even a story? And Gurman kind of went off on it this week, saying a lot of the stuff that we said, which is he already, what they weren't doing is killing the group. They were moving the OS people into the OS group. They were moving the hardware people to the hardware group. They are primarily focused on maintaining visionOS and adding some features in 27 for visionOS. And then the hardware people are focused on these glasses products that are coming. And the one bit of information that Gurman had that I thought was really good this week was, he said, on the other hand, please do not listen to people who point at Apple's job postings for Vision Pro and visionOS and say, see, they are actively hiring Vision Pro hardware engineers. That is proof that they're still working on Vision Pro hardware for the near term. Because what he said is, no, they're using those job postings to get engineers who they're going to put on the unannounced glasses products, right? But they're not going to say, we're hiring people for a completely unannounced Apple-related, glasses-related hardware project that hasn't been announced, so nobody say anything. Instead, it just says Vision Pro on it. So he said, don't get carried away with that as proof that they're actively working on a Vision Pro successor. That's not what they're doing right now, because they've mobilized all of those sort of visionOS and Vision hardware-related people to get their answer to the Meta Ray-Bans going instead. So it's what we said last week, and then he had even more detail above that. And then visionOS 27, they're going to keep it rolling, and they're going to have it sync up with what's in the other 27s, and that's where it is. Actually, I would say Vision Pro is where it deserves to be right now, which is a product that floats out there, that is interesting, but not really a product anybody should buy, and that is meaningful mostly in what it might mean for the future someday. And that's
he says, quotes a couple of important data points. He says Apple continues to advertise positions related to visionOS on the job site. And of course, if Apple does AR glasses, that would still be visionOS,
They said it would be based on some of the same technology.
Yeah. He says, though, that while there are Vision Pro hardware ads, the majority of those are actually for the glasses.
Yeah, right. And I can't say so. So they say Vision Pro.
To that end, Apple has deprioritized work on any major new enclosed headsets. And then he italicizes this, for the time being.
Right.
So the focus is on glasses, but it doesn't mean they've killed the nerd helmet.
I think it's one of the things that we've been saying. It's been a recurring theme of this segment here on the world's most advanced and important Vision Pro podcast, which is, what would they do? like, what would that hardware be that they would be working on now? And I think that they've all come to the conclusion that right now, if they were to work on a new Vision Pro or Vision Air or whatever, they couldn't get the price down to an acceptable price, the features that they want, because the hardware is so aggressive that like it's just not ready for hitting that price point. And so I think John Turnus, the reports go, looked at their Vision Air idea that they were trying to do, which is a lighter weight, lighter priced version, and he killed it. And my guess is he killed it because it wasn't good enough and it was still too expensive. And I think that's really where this hardware is right now, is until they can make it for an accessible amount of money, why would you even try?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's so overpowered. It's got an M5 in it. That screen is still state of the art. Like, the hardware that they've got will serve as the tinkering place for immersive video and for visionOS and for apps and whatever. They don't need something fresher. And anything that they would make would not be successful in the market because it would still be overpriced and probably too heavy.
They have a bit of a chicken and egg problem,
Yeah.
though, because if they aren't behind it, developers aren't going to develop for it. And if developers don't develop for it, then you really don't have a platform.
But until it's going to ship at volume, developers aren't going to develop for it. And I think that that's what everybody understands now, is that until you can get it down a lot from $3,500, nobody's going to buy it. Other than like I know like surgeons and stuff. I know there will be those industrial uses for it. But as a mainstream kind of like consumer product, if there is a place for VR headset, and I think there probably is, right? I think that there are certain applications that could be really cool. But
Industry verticals, yeah.
Yeah, but until it's $900 or $1,200 or something like that, like, don't even bother. And I think that's where they are. Is I think Turnus looked at it and said, I don't see what this gets us. And by the way, we're now behind Meta on exploring this from the other direction. So why don't we step 2 on that for now?
So here's a guy selling a brand new unopened Vision Pro for $10,000. I don't think that's a market price. I am seeing some pre-owned ones for.
Is there cocaine in it?
Right.
Well,
like, this is like speculation. Like,
Jason?
what kind of money laundering is this, right? Yeah.
There's a cocaine in there, but there is some DRAM in there.
It seems like for a used Vision Pro, the kind of going price is around $2,000, which is, that's a lot less.
It's still a lot of money, though, right?
Still a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's still a lot of money, and it's a lot of money. I don't know. This would be the interesting thing to see if with the new, Apple Care subscription thing, if you could add a Vision Pro into your existing subscription plan, right? Because I don't know. Because I always would freak out about this, be like buying one that's, $2,500. I'm like, okay, but if this breaks, it's going to cost me more than that to fix it. So
Gurman does say that if there is a new Vision Pro, it's going to be 2 more years at least, given the focus Apple has on the glasses. He says, to be clear, the end result is certainly on the table, and it wouldn't surprise me. I even hope it happens.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So, I mean, it's not a priority product for Apple.
Yeah.
At this point.
He did have something that was kind of, I think we can put this in the Vision Pro segment. The thing that, one of his scoops this week that was super interesting was he's saying that those AirPods that have integrated cameras are now at the next level of production, meaning that they have working test units that people inside Apple are able to wear to test the engineering. The next step after that being a sample that tests the production, tests the manufacturing. But basically, there are working versions of this, which means that and he's saying that, yeah, if they were intending to ship it later this year, then yes, that would be on track for doing that. I mean, I want this to exist only to find out exactly where the cameras are, how they work.
Yeah, cameras seems to be the wrong way to describe it, because that implies it's going to have pictures.
Exactly.
But it's not.
He did exactly. He did have the detail that it's basically cameras to basically add a stream of data to Siri, not for taking pictures, not for taking videos. But even so, I mean, when I'm taking my walk and I meet a friend in the street, I really do have to like take my earbuds out because with my sideburns, they are not going to be able to see that I'm actually wearing one of these things. It's basically Siri's like, okay, you seem to be stuck in tall, dry grasses and weeds. Do you need a helicopter to extract you from this meadow? Like, no,
actually, this is a problem. They are so good at sealing out background noise that really, when you've got them on, you can't hear people talking to you. And it is I think it's kind of a social problem.
Well, I mean, but that's
I don't leave it in transparency mode.
I'm sorry, just quickly. What I was getting at is that like people who have facial hair, like beards and stuff like that, how are they positioning the camera so that you don't look like a dang fool with this hovering like little dealy bobber thing sticking to the sides of your ears, or do you simply say that, okay, you know what, if you got a beard, this is not the product for you. I'm sorry. Well, at some point, maybe you'll decide that the functionality of Siri with cameras is worth shaving, but we can't help you right now.
Well, isn't it the case that the Apple Watch doesn't work that well if you're sleeved, if you have tattoos?
For some people,
it's true.
Yeah. So,
Well,
they can't make it for everybody.
And I think it'll depend on the implementation because beards are one thing, but I mean, long hair is another, right? Because I'm wearing AirPods right now.
Oh yeah,
I think far more people are gonna potentially be impacted with that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they'll have the sensors working. It is interesting though. I'm assuming
become as popular as long hair. I think you're right. I think that's a
good point. I didn't think about that.
So it'll be interesting to see what the I guess value add is for having that data, right? If it's going to be something that would help you with your mapping, or if it's something that Siri could tell you, what's in front of you or whatever. I don't know.
I hope they're testing it with people with long hair. That's all.
I do too.
And mutton chops.
Yeah, I'm really skeptical. I will say though about the transparency thing, the smart transparency mode is great, and
it's fantastic.
It is filtering out the broadband hum noises that you don't want to hear while letting. Like I do that. I do not use noise canceling, but I do use the transparency mode, the smart transparency mode, when I'm walking my dog. And what it means is I can't hear the freeway, but I can hear a car coming around the corner, and that's what I want. I want it to be a little quieter, but I want to hear anything that's important. And like, I can hear people talking to me just fine in that mode, but I'm not hearing the annoying kind of background noises. It's pretty great. So Apple has done a good job there. But as for AirPods with cameras, I mean, come on. I would love to be impressed by what they will do for me. And I just like, there are so many issues. The hair issue, the fact that it's looking, even if it's got like a really broad view, which would be degraded because it would be like fisheye and they would be lower resolution everywhere. Like they're looking out this way. They're not looking forward. What are they seeing? What value do I have there? I know that there are lots of arguments about like, oh, we'll use AI it'll understand where you are and stuff. But I'm like, but what is my benefit from having, things that are going to hurt the battery life and increase the weight and maybe look weird, and like, why? Yeah. I don't know.
I keep coming back to give me like a magnetic pin or something that's just a simple thing that just simply has a lens and a camera on it, and let my smart assistant, whether it's Siri, whether it's Claude, whether it's Gemini, access to that camera, and I can when I'm in a position where I don't want that kind of help, or it'd be rude to have a camera on my person, I simply take it off, and now I no longer have a camera. Like I said, I'm not saying that's a stupid idea. I'm saying that I cannot imagine how this could be designed in such a way that you don't look like you're like Grogu cosplaying, or the cameras actually just don't have any actual function.
What about always listening instead of looking? What about always listening? I for a number of months wore a variety of devices that were always listening, with the idea of feeding it into AI. And I think they could do the same thing with that they would do with the camera, which is say, well, no, we're not taking pictures. We're just listening for keywords and stuff that we're going to then add to Leo's diary or something. How about that?
Yeah, that could, so long as the people around you are not are okay with you, basically. Even
they're going to be freaked out by the camera too.
Well, even if they're not recording audio, like they're still just generating a transcript, and that in and of itself is like, I don't want everything I say to be transcribed without context, with anything like that. At least with a camera, I can basically see that little LED light on someone's frames. These earbuds with the camera, the Gurman's report says, yeah, there's actually also a light there too.
Oh, okay.
It's like,
there has to be.
But if I'm wearing my usual, like walking around earbuds, I'm thinking that, okay, I bet they have transparency mode. They're not being rude and continue to listen to their podcast while they talk to me. I'm okay with that. I don't want to worry that if someone asks me, hey, what do you think about the problem in Palestine? Like, say, okay, I don't want to be trapped into saying something that because I'm having a casual conversation and I'm speaking imprecisely because I really just want to play with your dog that you're taking for the walk. I'm distracted. I'm not thinking about world situations. And then it comes back to me 2 years later that, can you believe that he said something so glib about such a serious thing? And then he just said, ooh, who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? I used to respect that man. Like I mean, there's an argument that a lot of people that I respect have said, which is that, look, we're living in the panopticon whether we want to or not, and that's just a fact of life. That is true, and you have to live in the world that you find yourself living in. But that doesn't mean that at this early stage we should not be pushing against it and saying that we're not okay with that. There is going to be a price that if you're using this technology, we're going to expect you to be circumspect, or we're going to expect you to be a little bit embarrassed that you're in this particular space and that there is a transcript of everything that's being said around you.
You will, as a Vision Pro owner, get visionOS 27. Mark Gurman says, don't expect a lot. It'll be light on features compared with visionOS 26. Instead, focus on performance, bug fixes, and parity with the other 27 operating systems. Yeah. That means adding the new Siri.
Yeah, I mean, don't expect a lot, but if they can actually do usable voice control and AI and stuff, like, remember the guy in charge of Siri now is Mike Rockwell, who shipped the Vision Pro, and famously they were going to make the Vision Pro very, very Siri forward, which makes sense, right? I use Siri more on the Vision Pro than any other device I use, because instead of like going around and finding a thing, I can just say launch this app and it does it. And Rockwell was frustrated by how bad Siri was, and he apparently got in, I don't know about fights, but was really vocal about how bad it was, and they had to architect how the UI worked to make it less Siri forward because they were let down. And now he's in charge of Siri. So I would not be surprised if visionOS 27 actually is a lot better, just because it will theoretically have a good Siri, which is what Rockwell wanted all along.
Are we taking any bets on how much Vision Pro we'll see on stage?
I think it'll be a slide.
Mentioned?
Mentioned?
Vision Pro mentioned.
VisionOS
27 mentioned.
And our customers continue to love their Vision Pro.
You see that surgeon who did that thing?
17 new applications in the
All right, so it will make an appearance in a video, probably.
It's the new Apple TV. It's going to be the new Apple TV, I think.
And then,
also,
but no one will wear it on stage, right? I don't think we'll. No,
it remains a platform in our lineup of platforms for 27.
Okay. This
and
is
it's coming. It's the kind of thing where it's and it's coming to iOS, macOS, iPadOS, watchOS, and visionOS.
When you
tvOS
and Vision, and
it'll just be in there.
When you do your draft on Upgrade with Mike Hurley, I want you to really take a wild card and say someone will appear on stage in a Vision Pro. You could get a lot of points.
I don't want to lose.
I don't think they want to call attention to it, Leo, to be completely candid. Maybe I'm being overly negative here, but I think this is one of those products that they have. They're continuing to update and support, but especially if you're trying to reset things with AI at WWDC, you have a really big event. Do you really want to remind people of your past shame?
They're not going to talk about the car either, I think. Right. I think you're right, Christina.
Well, it's not as dead as the car, I hope.
True.
That is...
Well, actually, one last thing. iRacing, the iRacing simulator is now available for Vision Pro. That was announced just yesterday, or they just released it yesterday. It's not an app that runs on Vision Pro. It's just streaming from NVIDIA's cloud thing. But still, it's another reason to see... Another reason to remember which drawer you left it in, and then maybe see if the battery still holds a charge after not having been charged for 5 or 6 months.
Oh, Lord.
I'm sorry I'm being mean.
All right, you are mean. And that is your Vision Pro segment.
Now you see, now you know, we're done talking the Vision Pro.
The U.S. Mint has now announced the coin with Steve Jobs sitting cross-legged on the back of it. We mentioned that they were going to do this. You can get it for a mere I don't understand. $61 or $154? I guess it depends on.
Yeah, you have to buy a sack of them.
Oh, it's a sack.
And-
Either buy
and so-
25 or 100. I get it.
25 for $61 or 100 for $154. And of course the obvious joke is that it's very, very appropriate that an Apple person's thing has an insane markup that they can't possibly justify. But it is
so
cool.
These are $1 coins.
Actual legal tender $1
And
coin.
the D is the mint, right? So that's the Denver Mint or the Philadelphia Mint. Is that your? I'm not a numismatist.
Yeah, me neither. But it's nice. It was so each state has a state quarter for innovation, and California's they decided to have Steve Jobs in a meditative.
But this is not a quarter.
Pose.
This is a buck.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're right. $1.
Yeah.
You make and with a legend, make something wonderful. United States of America, Steve Jobs, California.
So for 25, you get $25 worth for $61, or $100 worth for $154. There you go. That's it. Let's see the video. That's it. The video, it's just moving, and then it flips over, and there's the Statue of Liberty on that. And by the way, it does say now not available, so I guess it's still not available. Currently unavailable. Oh, it's out of stock. That's why.
Yeah.
They sold out. Okay. What are some of our other
How can it be
choices?
out of stock on money? Isn't that an
Make more.
economic indicator of a
Aren't
problem?
you the mint? Make more. Maybe TSMC's making those in Taiwan. I don't know. I don't know.
How many nanometers are in his cowlick on that engraving?
So the 3 nanometer dollar.
It's great.
coins.
They I think they even have the New Balance on them. They got
It's a New Balance. It's a different balance than the.
No, that's right.
Shoes.
He's wearing New Balance sneakers.
New Balance sneakers.
He's got the mock turtleneck, but he's got like the the iCEO haircut.
Well, you're really
Yeah, I was
you're
going to
really
say
zooming in
it's a
on
little
this.
it's a little amalgamation of all of the various looks of Steve.
Yeah.
Does it look like Steve Jobs?
I
though?
don't think it does. I was going to say the same thing. I don't think it looks like Steve
Nope.
I think
Jobs.
it looks more like Christina Warren than it looks like Steve Jobs, to be frank. Okay. I like how he's got his fingers steepled. That's his famous steepled.
Imagine his he's just steely gaze focused on you because you said good morning, and that's the stupid. He thinks that's the stupidest
Waste of
thing
time.
anyone could ever do to start a meeting with.
And I
he's
presume
not
he's in
waiting
an
for you
apple
just to leave.
orchard.
I
right?
was going to
mean,
say the same
yeah.
thing, Leo. We have to presume he's in an apple orchard.
Yeah. Okay. Very nice. Too bad you can't get them. They're sold out.
Collectors will sell them to you for
Twice
more
the-
for the
Nice
next few
markup,
weeks. Then
yeah.
I'm sure you guys in like a year you can probably get these at near face value.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get them in a Walmart and change. You never know.
Maybe.
Go to the casino.
Google them.
I would actually like to have one of these. I'm not going to spend
Oh, yeah.
$61 for a big bag of them, but I would like to have one of these.
It would be a great gift, honestly. Like if I worked at Apple as a manager, I would be trying to put an order for this just as like team gifts because this
Yep.
would be like a fun souvenir.
Apparently, they sold out almost instantly, which is silly. They should totally make more, do another pressing or whatever. But yeah, I would. I would give them to friends, right? Like.
Yeah.
I'd be like, when I would see somebody at WWDC or at the relay telethon that we do in Memphis, I would be like, okay, you get a Steve Jobs coin and you get a Steve. I would be awesome.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
absolutely.
I love it.
So we mentioned that Google, besides doing their I/O keynote next week, will be doing their I/O. Actually, today they just did it, right?
Yeah,
their
I think
Android
1
show was
o'clock,
today.
yeah.
I missed it. Oh well. Did you watch it, Andy?
No, it was. I think it started at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Oh, 1
So
okay. So it's on right now.
I was focused on my duties here.
Good man.
Thank you. Very much.
There were. This is the announcement from Samir Samat of Android on X.com, and there were some comments that the Android logo sort of kind of got a little liquid glassy.
Yeah, there was so they put up a teaser for the show like a couple weeks ago. It's just like the Android Droid mascot, just like fun, like hey with the words hey the Android show, tune in for what's great and new, and he's doing a little dance and looking up at the thing, and people noticed two things. One, if you are following Google, the gap between the mouth and the body seems to have a ring of lights, which was playing off the idea that there's going to be support for like notification lights on the Google Book and maybe even on the Pixel phones, but also that that he looks like he's made out of frosted glass. He looks like maybe a liquid glass version of it. And you could tell that some people were just having a bit of sport, having a bit of fun, a bit of japery, but others were like, is that the new direction for Android? And so the Google's head of Android basically said, oh, you people are idiots. Of course we're not going in that direction, and retweeting what he said.
Speaking of things that are sold out, Woot was offering the famous $700 Apple Wheels kit for your Mac Pro for a mere $129.99.
That's a great deal if you have still one of those and you need wheels for it, but
Wow.
I want to put it on my $599 Mac Mini. Just to make a statement.
Just have a statement.
And by the way, a 5-star ratings on Amazon customer reviews, because Amazon owns Woot now. So no negative
really long
ratings,
time,
nothing
yeah.
but 5-star ratings.
Nothing but 5s.
Actually, there are no reviews. This is interesting that they say it's 5-star reviews, and there are in fact no reviews. So is that the default? You get 5 stars unless somebody says otherwise? I guess so.
I think if you have the Mac Pro that this fits, you have staff that leaves reviews for you. So that's and there's an agentic AI now that they've been fired and replaced by that's not working correctly. That's my guess.
5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. All right, let's pause, and we will come back with our picks of the week. You're watching MacBreak Weekly with Andy and Nako. Still, you said maybe you'd have something to announce this week.
I have to write some stuff. I'm sorry. I thought I would get. The thing is, and we'll talk about this next week. But I have some obligations to some people that I wanted to take care of before I.
Andy's waiting until the Iranian peace talks come to a resolve and the Strait of Hormuz opens, and then you'll have an announcement to make.
Basically, I want to make sure that I can rewrite every single thing that I might have written so that I look like I was an absolute prophetic genius.
You're ahead of it, yeah.
Because it'll be dated like April, but
I just want to point out,
revised
I have been very. I think I've been very good, not saying anything like "I told you so" about the Vision Pro at all. I haven't mentioned it.
You have been very good, Leo. You've been a good boy.
I'm sad. I think the Vision Pro should be a success, although I had absolutely
That's a
no
lie.
desire.
You're
You
lying
don't think
now.
it should be a success? Come on.
There could be a class action lawsuit. Don't lie. Don't do it.
I am a liar. I admit it.
I should also say, because I was a little bit churlish, if I could afford to spend $3,500 on a piece of fun that seems exciting and it doesn't have to make back for me any amount of utility, I just have some mad money and I have $3,500, I would have bought one.
No, not me.
But $3,500 is so far.
I look at it and my head
what I could have
hurts.
spent for something that's not.
I don't understand. I'm with Neil Stevenson, who says nobody wants to put a computer on their face. Mm-hmm. Christina Warren is also here, developer advocate at GitHub. Back to work. Although I noticed you immediately took a vacation for Mother's Day, so that's okay.
No, I'm working from home.
Yeah,
so
remote.
yes, so I'm working remotely. Yes,
Yeah.
so I am back at work. I just happen to be 3,000.
How's Mom? You said she doesn't like her iPhone Air too much.
She does. I was so disappointed. So I thought that
of flops. Yeah.
she waited until we could spend time together, because over Christmas we bought her an iPhone Air, and I did go through the pros and cons with her, and I was like, look, the pros are going to be. This is going to be lighter than your current Pro Max. I think she had a 15 Pro Max. And so you're complaining about, how heavy your purse is. This is going to be really good for that. The cons are going to be the battery life is not going to be great. We're going to have to buy you a booster. And the camera is not going to be as good as what you're used to. But I think for the stuff you do, you'll be fine. I had talked to her, and I'd assumed, because she didn't want to tell me that everything was great, she does not like the phone. And she regrets getting it. So she still has her old 15 Pro Max, but she did not trade in. And so she's still kind of using it basically as like a glorified, iPhone. So in the house, she'll use that for listening to podcasts when she's on Wi-Fi and whatnot. She doesn't have cellular service on it, and use it for some photo stuff. But
that's too bad.
It is too bad. So I think, unfortunately, this will be one of those things where we will trade it in December and then get her whatever either the Pro or the Pro Max variant of the 17.
I see that it says flip flop season on the sign behind you. So maybe that's
it's true.
Yeah.
It is flip flop season. Yeah, no, she just didn't want to tell me because she felt bad, and so when I talked to her yesterday, she was like, I don't like my phone.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Did she say why? I'm just curious.
It's the battery life and it's the camera quality.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm worried. It's funny.
Both those
I
make
took
sense.
my very good camera. I took 2 very good cameras to Hawaii with me, and ended up kind of leaving them behind often because the iPhone the Pro Max is so good.
So
It's
good.
great.
And the zoom is so good that and now I'm a little worried because I really do want to get the folding phone, but I think it'll have the same problem as the Air. It's so thin that the cameras may not be as good as the Pro Max for
Right, and there's going to be a step up on the Pro next time too, right? With
Yeah.
a variable aperture. Yeah.
So now, am I going to have to buy 2 phones? What am I going to do?
Yep. At least 2, maybe more.
Maybe more, Leo. Yeah.
I'll have to get that vest that Scott Bourne wanted of the iPhone, made out of iPhone.
Oh, I had one of his. I had one of the Scotty Vest trench
Scotty
coats
Vest.
once. I took it to CES or something.
Those are
and,
great, aren't they?
And it was amazing. I literally had like my carry-on on my person. I had like
Yes.
10 pounds worth of electronics on me. It was pretty great.
I wear my
they're
Scotty
perfect
vest
for
everywhere. I
shoplifting.
wore it to Hawaii. I wear it on the plane because it's the best way to carry a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Take it off, put it on the conveyor belt as you go through check.
Exactly right. No joke. So this is my favorite watch. It is like a vintage now, like 12, 13-year-old, like Casio G-Shock, one of the first ones with Bluetooth. And my favorite thing, and I lost it. I couldn't find it. And it wasn't until I had my Scotty Vest's like multi-pocket shoplifting coat, and I was wearing it. I was taking it out of storage. I wore it for like the 3rd week. That in one of the 800 pockets, I found it
You
in the
found
very,
it?
very bottom.
Amazing.
And because I know exactly what happened. For me, if it's not so much to get a carry-on, it's like I'm going to take everything off while I'm in line and put them in these pockets and then put the coat on. And
Right.
because it was the watch, like I just, for whatever reason, never retrieved it. But yeah, again, they are most amazing. It's not just, I'm sorry, I'll wind this up, but it's not just, you will think it's silly that, oh my God, 50 pockets, that's just crazy stupid. It's not just that, but it's also that even if you only use 4 of them, the thing is, because there are pockets everywhere, it's like what I really want is I want a pocket like on my forearm where I can put like my transit card, so that it's always there when I need to beep through a thing. It's like, okay, well, there's a zipper pocket on the forearm, and I want to keep my phone like in this exact spot on. Again, there happens to be a pocket right at the spot where you want to put that phone. You don't have to guess.
Yep.
You don't have to compromise.
It's great.
And they're nice coats too.
They are. That's the thing. And then it lays flat well. Like, it doesn't look bad. Like,
Yeah.
This is unpaid, but we're fans. All of we're fans.
And Jason Snell of 6colors.com and many podcasts.
Many.
Do you have a little bit of a respite before WWDC, or are you still writing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have been enjoying the fact that I have a little break between the Apple 50 stuff and June, because June's gonna be crazy. But yeah, so a little bit of a respite is nice this time right now. I like it a little quiet this time of year because I know what comes next, and it's gonna be a lot. So yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Good. We will have more MacBreak Weekly right now. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. Well, no, you know what? Before we get back to your picks of the week, which is coming up next, I might mention that it is so nice to have so many great people in our Club Twit Discord. And as Flyer Scott said, I liked all this talk, and as Jason Snell said, good talk, everybody.
Yeah, good episode. I mean, like, really, we Andy and I had a little back channel where we're like, this is a good episode.
Before the first commercial, I'm like, oh my God, I got to shut up because I'm having
Finally. It only took us 1,000. By the way, it's 1024. It's a momentous
1K.
episode.
It's our 1K episode, ladies and gentlemen.
And we killed it for 1K. I'm saying.
And if you want us to go to 2K, there is a way you can help by joining Club Twit. Increasingly, I'm of the opinion that the independent podcasting that is not owned by a corporation, is not owned by OpenAI or Andreessen Horowitz or any of the companies it covers. Cisco just announced they're doing podcasts. If you like the idea of an independent podcast covering technology without fear or favor, but really representing you, the best way to do that is to support the podcasts you listen to. And I would hope that this would be one of the ones you'd like to support. Here's how it works. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit. $10 a month. You get ad-free versions of everything we do, of course. You can also get access to stuff that we don't put out in public, like, for instance, the Google I/O keynote coming up and the WWDC keynote coming up. I don't believe in paywalls. Normally, and for years, we did put that out. But because Apple takes us down and gives us strikes on YouTube whenever we do that, we had to stop. We do that in the club only. It's a private broadcast. So if you want to watch our coverage of those keynotes and other keynotes, best way to do it, join the club. You also get things like the AI user group. Stacy's book club is coming up on Friday. I just finished the book, A Psalm for the Wild Built, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to that. That's 2 p.m. This Friday for Stacy's book club. Also, Google I/O is May 19th at 10 a.m. right before MacBreak Weekly. Might push it back a little bit. They tend to go a couple of hours, so we might be beginning MacBreak Weekly next week. I should have mentioned this earlier, maybe an hour later. But tune in early to watch the Google I/O keynote if you're a club member. Micah's Crafting Corner. So many other great shows. Our Jet Set with Johnny Jet. We talk about tech and travel. Lots of great things go on in the club. But most importantly, you're supporting independent podcasting. We do it with integrity. We represent you, not the companies we cover, and I think that's really important. And we do it because you support us. twit.tv/clubtwit. We'd love to have you in the club. Now it's time for Picks of the Week. I'm going to continue my run of Picks of the Week. I have a couple. Amazing. I know. I stopped for a while and I thought, what the heck? Let me see. How about this silly one? I've been doing a lot of menu bar apps lately. This one is probably one you don't need. But imagine if you plug in a USB-C cable and a small macOS menu bar app tells you what that cable can do and why your Mac is charging so slowly. It's free, at least. You can try it. It is pretty cool. It's on GitHub, of course. It's called What Cable by Daryl Morley. And actually, you can see screenshots if you go to whatcable.uk and see it or install it from GitHub. Imagine having a menu bar app that tells you what that cable can do. You can also install it via Homebrew, which is nice. Just Homebrew, install What Cable. I think this, you know what, if you've got room on your menu bar, if you're running one of those great menu bar utilities we talk about all the time, so you can expand your menu bar like this, put it in there. Why not have a little more in your menu bar? Whatcable.uk. Christina Warren, Pick of the Week.
Yeah, so I'm sure that you guys have talked about Obsidian before, the note taking app, which is
devoted Obsidian fan.
Yeah, which is fantastic. I'm a big fan too, and it's kind of a plain text writing app, but there are a lot of plugins. There's a big ecosystem around it, and what actually happened this week, today actually, is that the Obsidian team launched their Obsidian community, which is a new directory, and then there's like a developer dashboard for Obsidian plugins and themes. And
we need this because there are thousands of plugins now.
There are, and the process, they've had a bottleneck. There are only 7 members of their team, and so they've had a bottleneck trying to get as many things available. And so it's community.obsidian.md, and then they have things organized by category, when things have been updated.
Oh, look at this.
And then they're doing what they can to try to take security and things like that seriously. Obviously, there's going to be some stuff where I think they have some automated scans and they're doing some scorecards and some disclosures about what permissions things might ask. But I think this is great. This has been a kind of a problem. There have been a lot of people who've tried to kind of step in, I think, to make this space, but having this officially part of Obsidian, they've done a really good job with it, and I'm such a big fan of what they've built with Obsidian, so I wanted to share that.
It's so great. And this is, I have mixed feelings about Obsidian plugins because on the one hand, it's plain Markdown, and if you don't install a plugin, it's plain text and you can see it and read it everywhere forever. but I do have 28 plugins installed. So because, it ends up being making it even more functional and can do so many interesting, useful things.
Well, that's the thing, right? You can get so many integrations. You can connect it to other services and then pull those things into your Obsidian Vault. And then that is plain text too. So there's a lot of really cool stuff.
And it's great with AI. This is the other wonderful thing about Obsidian is it because it is plain text, your AI can easily ingest it and write to it. And so I, in fact, have a whole AI folder of stuff that my AI creates all the time. In fact, I even planned my entire travel using AI and Obsidian for my itinerary, and it was just fantastic. So, and now I have a diary that it turned into a web page, and I can just go on and on and on. There's so many wonderful things you can do with Obsidian, especially if you're using AI. So I'm glad that they finally did this. What is the address of the Obsidian?
It's community.obsidian.md.
Okay, community.obsidian.md. Obsidian.md is the base.
Is the base site, yeah. So this is just their community site, and they've got everything organized into different categories. Yeah. It's great.
Look at this, 280 AI plugins. Wow. Alone. Andy Anako, pick of the week.
Let me introduce you to the great source of stress that all of us have when we have an app that we absolutely love, but it has not been updated in ages and ages and ages. Because part of you is thinking, oh, well, that means that like when they get around to it, they're going to make a huge, wonderful update that's going to double my joy in this app. And part of you is wondering, no, they've forgotten it's existed. And at some point, there's going to be an OS update that breaks it, and they're not going to fix it. I'm going to have to lose my greatest. Fortunately, it was the first thing with Snapseed. This is Google's image editor, and it is, I'll say it again, there's a reason why I don't have games on my phone. It's because I have too much fun in Adobe Lightroom and in Snapseed. Just basically, I was waiting for a train, and I took a random picture of something, and now I'm on the train, and I will spend 40 minutes editing it in Snapseed, not because I'm a persnickety artiste, but because Snapseed makes it so much fun to explore what can I do with this photo. It's not about Canva. It's not about, I'm going to put a puppy dogs. I'm going to put a decorative thing on this. I'm going to use AI to put a tap dancing penguin in the back. No, it is photographic editing things, but both the simplest damn interface you can possibly have, where there is a stacked list of scrolling through of brightness, contrast, saturation, white point, dark point, bottom, and you can stop there. Or you can say, you know what, I want to go with details, and I want to go with specular highlights, and I want to go with gradual toning. And you know what, I want to go and adjust the curves, but I want to adjust the blue curve because it's a snow scene and the snow is very, very blue. I only want to take the blue out of the... You keep exploring and having more and more fun until you're left with. I had pancakes on Friday, and it was a fine picture. And as I was waiting for like the train to take me home, I just kept editing this picture of pancakes because those blueberries could have been more blue, and there could have been like more sharpness. And Snapseed is the app that lets you kind of do that. The built-in editor you get with Apple Photos doesn't do that. Even Google Photos, its editor, they kind of screw it up because they make it way too complicated. This is very, very focused on, here is a picture that was taken by your phone camera or something you imported through whatever. You're going to play with it with a whole bunch of tools, some of them very, very dramatic, some of them very, very subtle, until this is exactly the piece of art that you want it to be. One of the big things they added, they made one big upgrade like a few months ago. They made a second big upgrade in February or March, by which they added a camera mode to it, which it never had before. So it's... I've been playing with that, and I've been getting more used to wanting to use it because it has vintage film stocks or film looks where you basically, on the camera mode, you scroll through and you choose, I want Fuji X100 for this, because even now I remember, because I was shooting film as a kid. Oh, lots of greens, lots of reds. Okay, but this is a fall scene, so I want Kodak Chrome. You don't have to mess with that if you don't want to, but I'm amazed that this is the first time that I've actually been kind of messing around with a non-stock camera app on a regular basis. I'm still experimenting with it, but it's fun to play with. And I don't have to play with it. All the edits are non-destructive, of course. You can rewind to whatever you want. You can do things in layers, so you can just basically be experimenting. Like I said, it is the most fun and direct photo editor I ever saw. And I wouldn't go so far as to call it a Photoshop killer or a Lightroom killer or an Adobe Creative Studio subscription killer. But if you want to do something with photography that goes beyond what the stock photo app will let you do, whether it's an Android phone or an iPhone or an iPad or whatever, definitely get yourself some Snapseed. It's free. Also, it's being supported by a $4 trillion company, so it probably is not going away. The fact that they finally updated it after I don't know how many years, that means that it's going to be compatible with iOS 26 and 27. It's going to be compatible with Android 17, 18, 19 for the foreseeable future. And thank God, because my phone would be a lot less fun. My photography would be a lot less fun if Snapseed did not exist. Go to the App Store. Go get it.
Version 4 just came out. And I have it too, and it is really amazing.
Yeah.
Really is great. I guess that leaves Jason Snell, your pick of the week.
All right, I've got a pick update. I picked Indigo a little while ago when it was in beta. It is out now in the App Store. Indigo is a client for Blue Sky and Mastodon in one place. I've been using it for the last 2 months. It has replaced all my other clients. It's iOS, but also Mac. And it does what it says on the tin. Those are the two social media platforms I use the most. And now I can use them in one app. It does some deduping, which is very smart. If it's a cross post, you can cross post easily, but you can also read, and it supports threading, and it supports all the things. So if you're somebody who's using both Blue Sky and Mastodon, I find it very pleasant to be able to read my timeline in one spot for both platforms. It's just 2-in-1. Instead of having to do the work of saying, well, now I've finished this timeline, let's go over to this timeline. It's just all in one place. You control what posts to where you put everything that you do, and then you can also see it all. And it's got nice little flags, so you know that was from a Blue Sky user and that's from a Mastodon user. Although if you're like me, depending on the tone of the post, you can tell.
You'll know
which it is. I got a very weird piece of feedback yesterday from a podcast I did where the person was both did not understand what I said and took it the wrong way and was very upset. And I was like, oh, Mastodon is where this came from. But I have a real pick too. So that's Indigo. It's out now. And also a Mac utility. It costs $7. It's from my friend Lex Friedman. It is called Gnome. Here's what Gnome does. It's a menu bar app, and you press a keyboard shortcut, and you get a search box, and you find an animation in a file format that's spelled GIF. Now, Lex, being a very funny fellow, has said he's called it Gnome because Gnome is how you pronounce G, which is not to pronounce it at all. But yeah, so I'm going to say it. It's a GIF. I said it. I'm from the 80s. I remember when they were pronounced GIF. A GIF or GIF, if you prefer. Quick search, menu bar app, keyboard shortcut, type your search, and then it's optional, but there's a great option that when you choose it, it just auto-pastes it wherever you are. And so you can get that GIF in there really quick, or GIF, or Gnome. And a feature of it that I really love, if you've got a little folder somewhere that's full of the ones that you use, you can point Gnome to that, and it will use that and the search engine that it's using. So that I have access to all of my Spider-Man GIFs from the animated Spider-Man, and all of my this is Spinal Tap GIFs, but also the rest of the world. So it's really nice, and Lex is just charging $7 single purchase. But I love it. So if you're conversing with me and I send you a bunch of GIFs, that's why.
That's great.
Lex has a great brain. Every time he creates something, it's like, I think Lex has a great brain.
At some point, we have to count all the menu bar apps that we've recommended on this show, and maybe somebody should just install them all and just see how much. One of the
best things about being a Mac user is that you have that menu bar for a lot of utilities. I love utility apps on the Mac.
Yeah, and you get to kind of customize it as you wish.
You know, I'm still testing it, but I actually have at the top of the screen of my MacBook. It's like one of those tape measures. You can just pull it out, and it's a flexible strip of OLED, so I can have all of my menu bar items visible at the same time.
Oh, nice.
Broken it 8 times since. It costs $800 to fix every time, but still, it's a good idea if you like menu bar items like I do.
Great idea.
And I did want to thank you, Jason, for your pedometer plus pus pick a couple of weeks ago, because I put it on my watch, and it was a really great tool to see as I walked around the islands.
It's a great watch app. There are not a lot of truly great Apple Watch apps, but pedometer plus is really, like, David Smith sweats the details on.
Well, and I'm really into complications because I have the info, watch face, and so having it as a complication really is fantastic. I really like that. I should mention, I picked it many years ago. We brought the Shaka guides along with us. I really like GPS driving tours, and when you go to the islands, when you go to Hawaii, having these Shaka guides are great. We got the Big Island audio tour, and as we were driving, you do a lot of driving on the Big Island. It was, telling stories, playing Hawaiian music, describing sites, saying turn left here if you want to see the Akaka waterfalls and things like that. And it was really, really great. So if you're going to Hawaii, any of the islands, look at the Shaka guide, self-guided GPS driving tours, and they have them for the national parks now as well. They've expanded out a little bit. But I really, I used it when we, like many years ago, I think, when we were in Maui. And I thought, I should get this for the Big Island. And it was fantastic. The guy's a little bit like a DJ voice and a lot of false laughter, but I can put up with that. That's okay. But a really useful, and I now know a lot more about where we were. Okay. I think we have done it.
Good talk, everybody.
Gentlemen. Good talk.
Good game.
Good talk.
Good talk. We do MacBreak Weekly on Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. As I learned last week, 8 a.m. Hawaiian time. That's 1800 UTC. If you want to watch or listen to the show live, you can. Of course, if you're in the club, you can watch in the Club Twit Discord behind the velvet rope. Special access. But everybody gets to watch on YouTube, Twitch, X.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, or Kick. And you can even chat with us while you're in any of those platforms. And I see all the chat comments flying by. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show available in audio or video at our website, twit.tv/mbw. There is a YouTube channel dedicated to the video. That's actually a great way to share clips. You can, if your mom is about to buy an iPhone Air, you can share that little clip of Christina's mom's dissatisfaction and save her a lot of money, because it is flip-flop week. I just want you to know. Is it flip-flop week all the time in Atlanta, or just some of the time?
Just some of the times, but it is definitely flip-flop season right now for sure.
Okay. So season, not just week, but it's the whole season, ladies and gentlemen.
I guess so, yeah.
And then, of course, best way to get the show, subscribe in your favorite podcast player. Thank you, Christina.
Actually, before we go to screen, yes. Ted Turner died this week. Is Atlanta in mourning because he's so associated with Atlanta?
I mean, I think so. Well, it's interesting. I'm
sorry to reopen the bag. But
No. We can talk about this more offline. But like my family actually had a history with that with Ted, and so my dad.
A good one or a bad one?
No, a good one actually.
Oh, good. I have a lot of respect for him. Yeah.
And so my dad was sharing some stories the other night about him and how kind he was to my family over the years.
Oh, that's nice.
More than once, I found this. I'll just share this because this was bizarre. He came to my parents' house, not the house I'm in now, but the house I grew up in, for New Year's Eve, more than once.
What? Well, they were close.
But also like it's the suburbs. Like you're Ted Turner. Why are you out there?
Did you have somewhere to go? Doesn't Jane Fonda have a party that you could go to?
He was married to a different Jane at the time, but I mean, but definitely huge loss for Atlanta because we wouldn't have. Everybody says cable news. Obviously, that would be different, but we would not have cable television without Ted Turner.
Yeah. I'm glad we could mention that. Yeah. Thank you, Andy.
He was also on a Think Different poster, so he's connected to the Mac. For
sure, he definitely did that. Well, I am sorry to say this good talk, like all good talks, has to come to an end now. So thank you for joining us, and it is my sad and solemn duty to tell you, get back to work because break time is over. We'll see you next week.